Well, I think it's safe to say that we finally made it to the finish line, everybody. Anyways, welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans and Merry Marvelites out there, to another very interesting video for the channel, and specifically, given the time of recording on December 31st, today is New Year's Eve, and makes it the very last video that I'm recording for the channel in 2020. And of course, there'll be lots more videos coming in 2021, but for today, this is the very last video that I am making for the entire year, which is pretty darn astonishing for me to say in general. And first off, I just have to thank each and every one of you for sticking with me and the channel for so long. I never thought I would be where I am today, ever since starting my channel with just my little iPhone, recording videos for fun in 2016, waiting for the overall release of our main man, Peter Parker, with Spider-Man PS4, the journey of the Spidey Squad, and the overall passion and overall just connection that I've been able to form with all of you. Being able to just interact with you on a daily basis through social media and the videos that I make is always such a pleasure. You guys inspire me to keep doing what I do on a daily basis, and without you, I wouldn't find any meaning in the content that I create, not just for myself, but also for you guys who take time to watch and share interest with the videos that I make. So again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. We're almost at 70,000 subscribers. I want to try and hopefully reach 70,000 by the end of the year. We didn't make it, but still, the fact that we're even close enough to reach 70,000 is still an achievement in and of itself. And again, that's all thanks to each and every one of you who watch my videos and take time to interact with me and just spend time sharing your love and excitement for things that we care about within this community with Spider-Man, Marvel, even DC stuff in general. You guys make it all worthwhile, and for me as a content creator, I couldn't ask for a better audience. And for this video, I want to just talk about the year in general, 2020. What an absolute dumpster fire this year has been. You know, we first thought it was going to be pretty darn exciting because of the games that we were expecting to hopefully come out this year. One of which, of course, was Marvel's Avengers. One of the, sadly, minuscule stepping stones of this year in comparison to the other titles that we received, not just for Marvel or superhero games, but just entertainment in general. Marvel's Avengers already had kind of a rocky start in 2017 when it first unveiled itself in January of that year, saying that we were going to get more information for it in 2018, and we never did, and instead we had to wait all the way until E3 2019 to actually see the unveiling of the whole project, and I was there in person. It was pretty darn exciting to actually see it be unveiled, but underwhelming once you understood and once you actually learned more about what the game actually was. A live service, looter-shooter experience that was nothing like what we were expecting, like what we received prior with Spider-Man PS4, and it just kind of ended up being a lackluster experience. Now, if you guys enjoy the game, that is fantastic, and I'm very happy that you guys are enjoying the experience. And of course, leading up into 2021, we are going to receive more free updates with the game, with the inclusion of newer heroes added to the main roster, of course, with Black Panther, Hawkeye, Spider-Man, and most likely other popular Marvel characters within the comics universe like Doctor Strange, War Machine, Scarlet Witch, and so on. So since it is a live service game, there is going to be more content included down the line leading into next year. But given how it came out this year in September, where it was originally supposed to come out in May, then it got delayed 4 months into September, it didn't turn out to become the experience that we were all hoping it would be, and in general became pretty lackluster and a lot to left be desired for the experience. And of course, the reports of the overall financial revenue that has gained has not even broke even with Square Enix and the developer costs. 96% of players have dropped off the game from Steam and PC, and the same thing is following suit now with consoles on PlayStation and Xbox. The game is kind of not in the best state even now, like what, 4 months later, 3 months later since its main launch. I'm playing it whenever I feel the urge to, but for now, I'm just kind of waiting until they show and put in more characters to actually play as in the game and see where the story goes next. For right now, in terms of games of 2020 in the Marvel side of things, Avengers really didn't live up to the highest of expectations that a lot of us had for it. But on the flip side, we also had Iron Man VR. If you guys remember, there was that virtual reality Iron Man game that was revealed in 2019, which was pretty interesting, that they were doing a fully solo Iron Man themed VR game just for that specific character. But when you stop and think about it, it was actually a genius idea to incorporate Iron Man, the virtual aesthetic of his character, into a format like VR, and sadly that game got delayed as well. But when it did come out, I do have a VR system, and it is a pretty darn entertaining game. It's not like Game of the Year material, but still is a very interesting direction for Marvel games to go into, delivering a full AAA VR experience for a character like Iron Man. Of course, with the meme, it makes you feel like Spider-Man. That game does make you feel like Iron Man. Flying around, you use the PlayStation Move controllers to shift your direction and fly in certain areas. It's a very interesting game, and I am curious to see exactly how Marvel games can do stuff like that even more in the future and try and expand the AAA format of game development into different genres: VR, live service, and of course single-player action-adventure with our main man, Miles Morales, which was the biggest shock of 2020 for all of us, I think, because we were still waiting for Marvel's Avengers to release. Now, granted, it was supposed to initially come out in May of 2020, and then Miles was announced right after that in June of 2020 during the PlayStation 5 reveal event, which was crazy in and of itself. I don't have my hands on a next-gen console, either that of the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, so I have not been able to play Miles Morales on PlayStation 5 or even Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, but still seeing the first ever next-generation Spider-Man game in general, AAA, handheld, whatever it is, side-scroller, beat-em-up, open-world, action-adventure, linear-based, no matter what genre it is, the fact that the first ever next-gen Spider-Man game going into the PlayStation 5 started with a character like Miles Morales, who isn't even a full decade old yet within the comics, is a huge achievement in and of itself. The character has garnered massive popularity, of course, with Into the Spider-Verse, his inclusion in Spider-Man PS4, and now seeing that he gets his own standalone title with his own game on PS5 and PS4 is incredible, to say the least. And of course, sadly, the game didn't sell as well as Spider-Man PS4, given the recent news update that we saw and I did a video on, but the reviews for it are still fantastic. People love the game and the character. They're, of course, now more excited to see where that story will go in the future with the sequel, of course, later on with Marvel Spider-Man 2, either in 2022 or 2023. We cannot wait to see what the future of Insomniac's franchise has in store for Peter Parker Spider-Man. And of course Miles as well. But seeing that this was a slow stepping stone to building into where the future will go, giving Miles his own story, developing him as Spider-Man. I already gave my review of the game, and you guys already know that I love it, so you guys can check it out if you missed it. It was great, and it was a huge surprise of this year, not thinking that we were going to get a Spider-Man announcement for the games at all, since we were still waiting for Avengers to come out, but seeing that we got Avengers, Iron Man VR, and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, as well as Marvel Spider-Man Remastered on the PS5, so technically 4 massive AAA Marvel games in 1 year was pretty darn cool to see. And of course, we don't necessarily know what's in store next for Marvel games in the future of 2021 or even 2022, besides that of Marvel Spider-Man 2. Of course, like I said previously, there's going to be more content added into Marvel's Avengers with the other characters included in the roster, but that's not necessarily a new game, that's just more content for a game that is already released. So in the case of Marvel games and what announcements we could see, if you guys remember, Marvel is enlisted in a total full-year, multi-year, multi-game partnership with Square Enix, said to make even more games down the line. And one of them is rumored/leaked to be a fully AAA open-world Guardians of the Galaxy game. Now, it's weird because Guardians of the Galaxy has already received their own game with the Telltale series, which I did not play, but from the footage I've seen, it didn't seem all that great. But seeing where exactly Square Enix and Marvel could take their overall formula of game development into characters like Guardians of the Galaxy and giving them the full AAA experience that we would hope to see from that type of superhero format, it would be very interesting to see if they actually learned their lesson from Marvel's Avengers, seeing that that's the game that not a lot of people are too interested in actually playing in comparison to the more linear, story-driven, single-player experience-focused games that we have seen with titles, of course, like Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, which have sold and reviewed pretty darn well, both in comparison to how it's perceived from fans and critics alike. So hopefully, in the side of Marvel, I don't think we'll receive an announcement for Marvel Spider-Man 2 in 2021. I think we will see that later on with 2022 or 2023 exclusively for PS5. But hopefully for Marvel, while we are getting more updates for Marvel's Avengers, I do think we could see a possible trailer/announcement of the next big AAA Marvel game to be Guardians of the Galaxy, which I could see releasing either in late 2021 or possibly sometime mid to late 2022. And of course, we don't know exactly how the working from home situations could affect game development, but still, I think based on the multi-year, multi-game partnership that Square and Marvel have in store with each other, it's going to be very intriguing to see exactly where that goes next. And for DC, of course, we do know that Gotham Knights is coming out sometime in 2021, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is coming out sometime in 2022. We did receive gameplay for Gotham Knights and a full-on CG/in-engine trailer for Suicide Squad with some developer interviews here and there, but not a lot to really, for me personally, get hyped for what the games are. For me personally, I've been wondering if I should even cover these games, mainly when we get like a new trailer or gameplay for them. I did do reactions to the trailers for each of those games, but not in the sense of I'll do like a Gotham Knights 101 or Suicide Squad 101 for each of those titles, because they haven't really drawn me in yet until we see more of the story and the gameplay that surrounds the titles. Besides just the alpha footage that we saw of Gotham Knights, I need to see more of the co-op in action. What exactly is the story relating to the Court of Owls and the Bat family themselves? And Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I will be completely honest, that's probably the least anticipated game that I'm looking forward to for these current superhero games that we have. I'm not a fan of just making the Justice League the villains and the Suicide Squad are trying to be seen as like the protagonist of the game, and Superman is evil because he's being controlled by Brainiac, and you just have to take out the Justice League, and some of the Suicide Squad might kill some of the members of the Justice League because of the title of the game. Or vice versa, some of the Suicide Squad might die from the Justice League themselves. It's kind of a weird premise, especially for a company as massive as Rocksteady, so I need to see a lot more from that before I get excited, but luckily, it comes out 2 years from now, so we have a lot to wait until we see more of that game next. But Gotham Knights, once we do start receiving more updates for the game in 2021, let me know if you would like to see some update videos or just reactions or discussions about the game from me on the channel, and I'd be more than happy to do so. But alongside of all the superhero news, just in general for the channel, anything that I'm looking forward to down the line, if you guys don't know, which you should follow me on Twitter just to learn more about my opinions other than things pertaining to Spider-Man, I actually am a massive Persona 5 fan. And Persona 5 Royal, which came out this year, is actually my personal game of the year. I love everything about Miles Morales, and the character of Miles, of course, and the story that they told. But honestly, during COVID, when it occurred in March, obviously, Persona 5 Royal came out on March 31st, and COVID came in like a couple weeks before that. So I was stuck at home. We all were. Quarantined, lockdown, social distancing. And I was just kind of bummed out, really, upset, and of course shocked that like I was attending San Francisco City College and trying to get certain certificates to possibly help my chances within the entertainment industry that I'm personally very interested in as a person. And I was just kind of befuddled about this whole thing, because like, well, school's been on hold, we gotta do things through Zoom now, and everyone's lives have been pretty much come to a full stop. And just seeing that happen, especially for someone like me, who's 22 years old, who's still trying to figure out what to do in terms of like a professional career, and of course I love doing YouTube, but I want to see if there's anything else that I could possibly focus my interest in. And I was just shocked, like, man, there's really like nothing going on now that we can do. And of course, I remembered, oh right, that Persona 5 Royal is coming out March 31st, and sadly, I couldn't obtain it because all the stores were closed physically due to COVID, but then a couple weeks later, I then got it for my birthday on April 10th. And honestly, I played the first game, Persona 5, it was fantastic, but after playing through Royal, which is pretty much, if you guys don't know the series, is like the definition of like a perfect remaster. It's visually enhanced, there's more of the same stuff that you played with the original game, everything's there from the first game, but there's more story content, new gameplay mechanics, new characters to, you know, dive into and interact with, and just new things to discover and experience. And I already love the first game to death, but specifically, because I haven't played it ever since I played it initially in 2017 when it first came out, the first game. So when Royal came out 3 years later and I replayed it, I just dove in and I fell right back in love with the entire world of Persona 5 and the characters that were there, and the inclusion of characters like Dr. Maruki and Kasumi, who I won't spoil for you guys, which I highly recommend you play the game. It really resonated with me on a personal level during quarantine, and the message that the game pretty much says is that discovering your true self is pretty hard to do, like figuring out who you are and who you want to be down the line, and discovering that for yourself and self-identity, and, you know, discovering everything that you embody and what you love and who you are on a very deep and personal level was very, very specific to me personally, and just experiencing that type of message during the craziness of 2020 was essential to just get through the craziness of the pandemic and quarantine. And I don't want to spoil the game because I definitely think you should play it for yourself, but specifically with the inclusion of Dr. Maruki's character and what happens between him and the protagonist during the end of the game is pretty much like a insane personal connection that I have with someone else in my life that I really, really connect to on a deep level. And seeing how you can try and overcome anything that you face and challenge against, and anything that you do can be done if you give it your all, and just, you know, be your best self and just embrace who you are. Don't run from it, just be you and be proud of it. And just, you know, that obviously doesn't relate to the entirety of the game, but it's one of the many messages that it really embodies. And for me personally, it is my game of the year, on top of the soundtrack and the overall, the great graphics and the stylization of Persona 5 in general, and the characters and just the gameplay. It's fantastic. I loved Miles, but Royal really, really spoke to me on a deep level. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because next year, in 2021, in February, we're getting the official sequel, if you would say, to both Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, with another game called Persona 5 Strikers, which is pretty much like a third-person action-adventure RPG instead of the more like turn-based combat style that we saw in Persona 5 and Royal. This is more of like, I would say, if you're relating to like Marvel stuff, Marvel's Avengers, like a core beat-em-up game with the same stylization and chemistry of the characters and gameplay aesthetic of the Persona franchise, but mixed into something a little bit different. So I'm personally excited for that game, so if you guys want to see me cover it on the channel or talk about it, I'd be more than happy to. But other than that, we have a lot of interesting stuff to look forward to for Marvel games. DC is coming in hot now with Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad after being gone ever since Arkham Knight. They've been pretty darn silent on that front with DC games. And so hopefully it'll be interesting to see the differences between Marvel and DC. And mainly in just movies, of course, we have Spider-Man 3 to look forward to, directed by my favorite director of all time, John Watts, and the amazing cast that's going to be in that movie, with everyone pretty much from the previous Spider-Man films into one massive movie. With, of course, Tom Holland, Jamie Foxx as Electro, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, Toby, Andrew, possibly Emma and Kirsten Dunst, you know, Emma Stone. I don't know, you guys. I've talked about this in previous live streams. I need to see a trailer, and I also need to see it to believe it. Even though they're like, oh, there's going to be all these actors and actresses in the film, I'm not believing any of it until we actually see a trailer for the movie itself. And based on the statements that have been said, oh, we'll see a news report or a tease of some kind for Spider-Man 3 before the end of the year. I don't think that's the case now, unless something happens after I record this video. But for the most part, I will wait and hold my expectations until we see a trailer for Spider-Man 3 in full, with all the Spideys returning, seeing where exactly they can continue from Far From Home, with the epilogue, you know, of like, oh, Mysterio unveiled Peter's identity to the world. How is he going to react to that and deal with that, with possibly Daredevil coming in the film, and Doctor Strange giving his assistance, and the other Spideys, and other love interests and side characters. Are they cameos? Are they side characters? We don't know anything. And I'm just really very, hesitant and cautious to see what the final result will be for this movie. But hopefully it can be something that we all enjoy, and hopefully it'll be worth the wait after the crazy updates and news reports that we have seen for it during this year. And just to close off the video, everybody, this was more of like obviously a rant slash ramble slash just discussion about everything that happened this year. Overall, it's been crazy, you know, trying to balance the school life that I have with the YouTube life that I have now on the channel. I do this full time. If you guys know, doing YouTube is a passion that I'm lucky enough to do, and it's all because of you guys for the amazing support that you give me every single step of the way. I'd be more than happy to keep doing videos for you guys in the future next year and the years after that. Whether or not you guys show interest in the topics that I do, it depends, but I'm just lucky enough to be doing videos on topics that I'm very, very interested in, sharing that passion with you guys and making it all the more worthwhile by being able to interact with so many amazing and incredible people. And of course, with the pandemic being just insane, having to live through this has been a challenge for all of us. But just think about it like this: if you stay socially distant and safe by wearing a mask, hopefully the overall rate that it spreads will decrease. But also, you personally and myself, we've lived through a worldwide pandemic and have come out scot-free. Now, of course, the virus isn't going anywhere anytime soon in 2021, but just being able to go through such an insane experience, and you can tell that in your lifetime. Like, I experienced COVID-19 and made it out of 2020 in one piece. Now, hopefully you and your loved ones are safe, but in the sense that this is like something that you would only think in like a movie or something that you would go through. But the fact that we are actually experiencing this massive pandemic together, and you know, being there for one another, obviously socially distant, but still there for each other, reassuring that in the end, it is crazy to experience something this maddening and, you know, life-threatening possibly, but in the end, it is going to be okay if you just stay calm, have faith, and just keep being safe, wear a mask, of course, as best you can. It will get better. And I'm here for you guys, you're here for me, and just sharing your love and enthusiasm with people closest to you that you care about will defeat any crisis that happens within this year and the next year and the year after that. And of course, it wasn't just COVID, sadly. It was, you know, crazy stuff with, of course, you know, riots and protests and just, you know, people just expressing, you know, disdain for our local government and all this crazy stuff, and just everything this year was like nothing that I ever want to live through ever again. Now, there's no guarantee that 2021 will be better, but the best thing that we can do is hope for the absolute best outcome and just stay calm and be there for one another as best we can. In general, I'm very, very happy to be where I am. I'm very lucky because of all the support you have shown me, and I can't wait to see exactly what next year will have in store. Hopefully it'll be a lot better than what this year gave to all of us. But with all that said, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you had a very happy holiday, and of course, have a very happy new year. 2021, let's make it better than what 2020 could ever be. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans, and stay merry, Marvelites. Peace out.